Hi, it's Angela. In episode 3, we'll explore being born psychic versus developing psychic abilities and how that fits into spirituality. I'll also discuss the top 8 psychic abilities so you can determine which ones you have. Stay tuned to hear the answers to these questions and more. The Spiritual Life with Angela Boswell. Many times, the concepts of being psychic and being spiritual are confused. So, here's how I define them. Someone can be psychic and not spiritual, someone can be spiritual and not psychic, or they can be both or neither. Being psychic is a talent that some people are born with, and it can also be developed. As we explored in an earlier podcast, What is Spirituality? Being spiritual is part of an inner journey to our own truth, and through self-evaluation, practice, and experience, we grow into that peace and connection with the divine. Being spiritual is part of our life's journey, and either having and managing our psychic abilities or developing them can be part of that spiritual journey. So let's look more at what it means to be psychic. And just a note here, some people like to use the word intuitive instead of psychic, and this is fine to use that word, but it's not accurate. Psychic abilities can be identified and used with tools. Intuitiveness is an inner knowing about something that can't be explained or defined, and you just know something. However, it is only a word, so if you choose to use it instead of psychic, that is fine. Okay. So, you may have heard someone saying they were born psychic. When we refer to someone being born psychic, it's like all of their channels and senses were wide open at birth. To be more precise, they are born with their brow or third eye chakra wide open and receiving energy. They absorb information from everywhere, including other dimensions, and there is no filter. The information is usually not prioritized or directed, and usually not managed on demand, but rather comes and goes. The born psychic who has not yet received training or experienced a spiritual awakening is usually scared of these abilities, feeling out of control and powerless, or learns to use the abilities for self-gratification, but hardly ever for spiritual growth. Once they grow into their abilities and learn to manage them, the psychic's entire life improves and they can find their calling. Frequent symptoms of people who are born psychic and have not yet learned to manage their abilities can include seeing dead people, hearing voices, seeing entities in their homes, having dreams that come true, frequent nightmares, frequent headaches, seeing energy and auras of people, feeling the emotions of others, knowing things about other people, even future events, receiving information that is hit and miss, not steady and reliable. Usually they don't have personal or emotional boundaries, and they may have no sense of priorities in their life. They may feel it is their job to instruct others on how to live their lives, and they also may feel misunderstood and feel like they don't fit in. They may be sensitive to light and sound. They may be attracted to witchcraft and the dark side of life, or they may be the opposite and be very, very religious. They may have patterns of destructive relationships and control issues. They may be fearful of life and of the future. They may be obsessed with talk of demons, monsters, hauntings, spirits, seances, exorcisms, things like that. Sometimes they feel special because of their abilities, and sometimes they're ruled by their ego. There's also a need to prove their abilities to others. They either love or avoid horror movies, books, paranormal TV shows. They may hide their abilities around religious people, or they may even completely shut down their abilities. And for most people, this is where it ends. What they don't understand is that it's their life's challenge. If they embraced it, their lives could be much more beautiful. Their challenge is to live in this world while being able to access the other realms and lead others to the truth they know. They are born with these gifts to show the way to others, to explain the other dimensions and how to access them, and describe what resides only a breath away from us. They are to use their abilities with compassion and love to assist others on their path of awareness and lead to spiritual awakening. But in order to do this, they must accept themselves completely, understand that they are normal people with heightened senses to access what others usually cannot, and that they are here to lead. However, they must work on their inner demons before they can combat the outer ones. And now that we've talked about being born psychic, let's talk about developing psychic abilities. For people who are not born psychic or with that third eyebrow chakra wide open, there are ways to develop their psychic abilities. By concentrating on expanding their senses, they are able to fine-tune their abilities to hear, feel, see, know, and experience things from other dimensions at higher vibrations that cannot be accessed otherwise. This does not mean that they are on their spiritual path or that they are managing their abilities or even that they are associated with high vibrations of love and light. These abilities can be used for any desire. Of course, this does not mean it releases them from the karma of their actions. A good example of developing abilities is let me say this. A good example of developing abilities without consciousness or without any type of spirituality associated with it is the traveling psychic scammers that many people in Florida have experienced. They've been schooled in heightening their senses so they can access the auras and thought patterns surrounding unprotected, unsuspecting people. They approach a person, access the information as a form of mind reading, and give the person information that seems impossible. It's a way to garner the trust of the person so that anything else that is said is to be believed wholeheartedly, such as having a curse that can only be lifted by buying $3,000 worth of candles or prayers. This is an extreme example, but it happens every day, and I've had many people come in my store that have experienced this. There are also many other ways to heighten senses to increase psychic abilities. This can be done with crystals, astral travel, sacred geometry, drugs, and other hallucinogens, or having a practitioner open the channels for you. Without control and management, the abilities will not last, or in extreme cases, they can incite insanity. And unfortunately, I've seen that too. A more natural approach to develop psychic abilities is through meditation, automatic writing and journaling, self-evaluation, becoming aware of your spiritual guides, getting in tune with nature, and honoring the natural cycles of life, trusting your own intuition, practicing in safe environments with trusted teachers, letting go of ego, and always, always having reverence and respect for the process. In developing your abilities this way, the process is gradual. Yes, it does take longer, but it brings with it self-understanding and peace. Abilities are also managed, reliable, and come with discernment that the delivery is in the person's best interest without control or expectations of the outcome or of just being right. We also understand that being psychic and accessing the psychic world is only part of a larger picture. So although you can learn to manage the psychic abilities you may have been born with, or you can learn to develop them, it's always best to put them in the context of your own spiritual journey and blend them together to understand yourself and your life's purpose better. So let's talk a little bit about different psychic abilities. There are many ways to categorize and describe psychic abilities. For me, the easiest is to divide them up into 8 styles. Of course, you may experience something not listed here, or a mixture of a few of them together. That is all fine. This is just a starting point. So the first is clairvoyance. This is seeing things that other people don't see, such as spirits, auras, colors, and visions. Clairaudience is hearing things that others don't hear, such as words, music, and sounds. Clairsentience is feeling things that others don't feel. It could be temperature changes, pressure, touch. Claircognizance is knowing things without being told. Then you also have empaths, who are people who tune into the emotions of people they may or may not know. Energy healers, who channel their healing energy through their hands or other body parts. Prophecy is experienced by those who have dreams, visions, and predictions that come true but are random. And animal communicator, which is the ability to speak directly to animals and understand them. There are many abilities and sub-abilities and many talents that are associated with tools, such as reading photos or jewelry, which is called psychometry, candle reading, tarot reading, etc. But I'll talk about tools in a later podcast. So for you out there, notice if and how you receive psychic information. You may start by identifying tools used, then moving to the details of it. Perhaps you use automatic writing. Search further. Do you hear the words before you write them, or do you see them first? That would give you the difference between clairvoyance and clairaudience. This will give you an indication of your psychic talents. So to sum all this up, being psychic and developing and learning to manage those abilities can be a larger part of your spiritual journey, but it doesn't have to be. Perhaps your connection with the divine is different, and that is fine too. Just know that the journey inward shows up in many forms, each selected for us individually to keep us on the right path toward our life purpose. Notice what shows up for you, and it will give you an indication of where you are right now and where you are going next. Here's some books I suggest for developing your psychic abilities. Am I Psychic or Just Making It Up? By Carol Lynn. Born Knowing by John Holland. Adventures of a Psychic by Sylvia Brown. Unleashing Your Psychic Potential by John Edward. Heaven and Earth by James Van Prow. And Psychic Development for Beginners by William Hewitt. Thank you for listening today. To learn more about me and my services and to book a session, please click the link in this podcast or visit www.angelaboswell.com. Thank you.